Okay, now I'm going to try this again. All right, so now this is the second episode. I was supposed to do one yesterday, but it didn't work out that way. So here I am today. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about the the way America works towards Black and Brown communities. You know, anybody who knows anything knows that just the way it's been designed. It's nothing new. It's nothing new. It's nothing surprising. It shouldn't be surprising. It's the way it's been designed. Okay. So I was looking at, some things today, at work. And basically in talking about housing, when it comes to the lottery system. So basically, if anybody knows, there's supposed to be, de Blasio came up with this plan to come up with 500,000 units by the year of 2026, right? So out of the 30,000 that have been built or financed since 2014, uh, about 10 neighborhoods that's includes Black and brown people have been targeted for that, and only a certain amount have been allocated towards affordable housing. Um, I've been talking about this a lot amongst peers, students, stuff like that. Um, Basically, the lottery system is just what it's called, a lottery system. It's just like you have as much chance of getting one of those apartments as you do, scratching the scratch off or playing the numbers or what have you. You know what I'm saying? So that's already built up against us or what have you. Then you only have a certain amount allocated for affordable housing. And a lot of those apartments wind up empty for a long freaking period of time. So what's happening too is also what's called a community preference, where it's slighted against outsiders. Because usually when people are applying for these apartments, they're applying for neighborhoods outside of the neighborhood they currently live in, and these lotteries are pretty much slighted against that. They slighted for community preference, and the reason for that is because um, it's geared toward praising or pleasing certain city officials, city council members who have the power to push for certain things when it comes to the apartments. So in order to, keep them on the bill, they want that community preference, you know what I'm saying? Which, still adds to a lot of freaking segregation in what's supposed to be a liberal city. There's a there's a lot of modern day segregation. You know what I'm saying? Because of course, there's certain neighborhoods that's gonna have strictly Black and Latinos, and you're gonna have certain neighborhoods that have the whites or what have you. And there's only certain apartments that's allocated to these people or what have you. So who suffers? The Blacks and Latinos the most. Maybe some whites or what have you, but we all know how that goes. You know what I'm saying? We know the disparities between that. We know the income disparities. We know the education disparities. I said this in my other video. A white man who has a high school diploma is more likely, 10 times more likely, to get a job going for the same position as a Black man with a bachelor's, or maybe even higher. You know what I'm saying? It's been proven. There's studies that's been done for this, or what have you. And You know, if you don't believe me, you can look it up. And you know, I probably wind up saying that in all my videos. If you don't believe me, look it up. The numbers are out there, the information's out there, you know. And just like when I have to do these papers that I do for school, I got to do the research, you do the research. I'm not here to sit there and tell you every little thing. I'm gonna give you bits and pieces, and you can sit there and look it up for yourself. And if you don't, then you know, that's your ignorance. That's how I look at it. But yeah, so this system, even when they look like they helping us, they really not. You know, the scales is outweighed or what have you, and you have these establishment Democrats. Because I'm gonna have to sit there and say this, and let me get this straight, because people love to sit there, and when you sit there and you go against the Democrats, they automatically think you're a Republican and you're for that Agent Orange guy or what have you. I don't say the president's name. He's Agent Orange to me. And you see enough of my videos, you'll realize that I always say Agent Orange. So when I say Agent Orange, you know who I'm talking about. So let me get that straight. I'm not a Republican. I will never vote Republican. And I don't believe in the nonsense that a lot of blacks sit there and try to push on other blacks. Or you should be voting Republican. You've been sitting on a plantation all this time. You're trying to keep all the brothers on. I had my first troll on one of my videos and whatever. You know, my this channel is only a week old, but I got a troll already and talking about, oh, you trying to keep the black people on the plantation, brother, or what have you. And I could tell that dude didn't even properly watch my video, because I never sat there and advocated for the Democrats. And if you watch any of my videos, I don't advocate for the Democrats or what have you. I have learned over the years that they're pretty much no better. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are no better than the freaking Republicans. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of them are swerving way to the right lately. Way to the right lately. You know what I'm saying? So that also brings me on. We had a little progressive wave, right? You know, I don't know who's watching this and who might watch this later on, but you know, I'm from New York. And so, you know, in the 16th district, I mean, I couldn't vote in that because that's not my district. But, you know, I've seen people advocate for him by my job. My job is by that district. But anyway, you had Jamal Bowman, who, you know, upset Eliot Engel or what have you. And if anybody who's been paying attention knows, Eliot Engel recently was caught saying at a Black Lives Matter rally, he was caught saying, if I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't even be here. Mind you, his district is full of Black and Latinos. Mind you that. And mind you, a lot of established Democrats sat there and pushed for him. They endorsed him. I believe Schumer endorsed him. The Congressional Black Caucus endorsed him, and you know, I'm going to touch on them a little bit later. You know, the Congressional Black Caucus endorsed him. Who else endorsed him? I can't remember off the top of my head, but established Democrats endorsed him. And yet a progressive, Jamal Bowman, who grew up in a single family home in the projects, sat there and upset or what have you. Then you have a race in Kentucky. And I was rooting for this guy. I swear, if I was in Kentucky, I would have voted for him. I would have pushed for him, whatever. You know, you have Charles Booker. I was really rooting for him, but I saw earlier my notification. I didn't even read the article. I see that Amy McGrath wound up, you know, pulling the win for the primary to go up against Turkey Neck Mitchie. And now I bring that up because, you know, Amy McGrath is one of those typical establishment Democrats or what have you. And, you know, The Democrats have not learned from 2016. You know, blame it on the Bernie bros, blame it on third party, all you want. No, it's DNC that's making these mistakes because they keep putting these established Democrats that don't do nothing for us. Don't do nothing for us. They keep on getting those seats or have you. They don't do nothing for us, but they keep putting them up against us because you know why? And I said this in my video before, and I said this in a couple of videos, because they know all they got to do is pander up to us. All they need is symbolism. That's why they do the symbolism now. Changing the name of Aunt Jemima, changing the name of Uncle Ben, pulling down all these Confederate statues or what have you. You know what I'm saying? All symbolism. All symbolism. So they don't have to sit there and really get to the root of the problem and get to some kind of economic equity for us because we deserve it. Despite what naysayers might say, we deserve it. And no, we're not looking for a handout. It's funny you want to talk about a handout when you have so many freaking corporate welfare handouts, but you don't complain about that. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk about a handout when, you know, for hundreds of years, we worked for free. We worked for free. And then even after that, we've worked for bottom to nothing wages. Many of us don't make living wages. Many of us work 2-3 jobs just as, and not even sit there and live a decent life. 2 or 3 jobs to pay the bills and maybe have a little something left over. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. Not even 2 or 3 jobs to sit there and maintain a certain life. 2 or 3 jobs just to pay the bills and have a little bit left over. A little bit left over. And there's a lot of people that never know the pain of that and never will know, but they're complaining about wearing masks. You know, people are losing their mind. People are losing their mind about being asked to wear a mask. You know what I'm saying? You sit there and you shop. I you know, on average, I don't think you should have to shop an hour. But let's say you take an hour, right? How does it kill you to sit there and wear a mask for an hour or up to an hour, half an hour, 20 minutes, whatever, and take it off after you get out the store? But they don't even want to do that because it's an infringement on their rights. They don't want to be told what to do. That is the epitome of privilege. That is the epitome of privilege. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then they wanna juxtapose. Yeah, I'm gonna use the word juxtapose. I'm gonna use the big word or whatever. They wanna put that side by side with slavery. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, yo, are you kidding me? You comparing being asked to do something that's gonna save lives, possibly save your life, whether you believe it or not. Just a simple courtesy of wearing it bothers you because somebody's telling you what to do. Then you have Karen and Stan who's standing outside their house in the gun with guns, whatever, because protesters wanted to protest the fact that their names, plenty of people's names, was being put out in public, and their addresses being put out in public, which is pretty much against the law. You know what I'm saying? You're putting people clearly in harm's way by putting their information out there. You know what I'm saying? So that these right-wing white supremacist ideologists could sit there and know where these people live and go crazy. Go crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because it's already bad. Agent Orange has opened up the door to go back to you know, the 60s and before the 60s, when you could be blatantly racist. You could sit there and lynch and get away with it. You could beat the crap out of a black person and get away with it. You know what I'm saying? So they thinking back to those good old days for them. You know what I'm saying? Now, you sitting there pointing guns at protesters. They have their right to sit there and protest, and you know, and their livelihood is being threatened, possibly life being threatened by the mayor sitting there giving out the information, or whatever. Forgive me, I can't remember exactly what state it was, but I'm pretty sure y'all know the story. Whoever's gonna watch this afterwards, y'all know the story, and you know this shows the ridiculousness of white privilege. And I made that, and I did that in a video before. You know, if you haven't watched it, please watch it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm welcome to any comments. I don't expect you to agree. I don't expect everybody to agree, but be respectful. Because the minute you're not respectful, I'm not going to tolerate it. That's just plain pure point blank. You know what I'm saying? And I might go back and forth with you. I might not. Who knows? I don't know. It depends on my mood. But it's my platform, so I'm gonna sit there and do what I do. You know what I'm saying? But basically, you know, it's it's the epitome of white privilege. You know, and let me break that down. You know what I'm saying? For those who might not know, you should know by now. But for those who don't know, white privilege is not about being born with a silver spoon in your freaking mouth, even though some have. It's not about that. It's way deeper than that. White privilege is the ability to sit there and drive in a neighborhood in a BMW and not worry about getting stopped. It's the ability to be able to drive anywhere in any car and not fear being stopped because you fear that stop could sit there and end your life. It's the ability of not having to have that conversation with your kids saying, hey, when you deal with a cop, you listen to them, you say yes sir, you make sure they see your hands, so on and so forth. It's that ability of not having to have that talk. It's the ability of knowing that you can go in certain establishments and they won't look at you funny. They won't sit there and be reluctant to serve you. You know what I'm saying? It's the ability to be able to go into pretty much any neighborhood, and as long as you got the money, you can sit there and rent an apartment. It's the ability to go into a car dealership and be able to get any car without them looking at you funny. You know what I'm saying? The list can go on, but that is white privilege. You know what I'm saying? The ability to sit there and rant and rave over the fact that you don't want to wear a mask. You know what I'm saying? Because you feel entitled enough to feel that you don't have to wear a mask. You know what I'm saying? It's the privilege of feeling that you can sit there and lash out at the cops. I mean, I've seen videos where literally white people was lashing out and the cops hit the cops, did all kinds of things, even sat there and got in the cop car and drove it off. They was alive. But so many of us sit there and we try to do the right thing. We try to be polite. We're not armed or what have you. And we sit there and we get shot. You know what I'm saying? I don't even care if a person is running away. You know what I'm saying? A person is running away or what have you. That's not a reason for that person to get shot in the back. In fact, you can't sit there and say your life is threatened. How's your life threatened when the person is running away from you? The person is running away from you because they feel their life is threatened, but yet you're shooting them. Okay? So, you know, kill that noise with the whole, if you respect the cops, then they won't bother it. No. And I can even speak from experience because coming from a teenage boy, I used to walk outside my neighborhood. And for some reason, Every time I come in this certain neighborhood, I get stopped and frisked. Now the first time, I'm like fearful and embarrassed at the same time because everybody's sitting there looking at me or whatever. I'm throwing on the car and I'm being frisked. I don't know what I'm being frisked, but only thing they can tell me is I fit the description. So then the next time it happened, I fit the description again. It doesn't matter what I'm wearing. I'm wearing a yellow t-shirt right now. So they sit there and say, "Oh, do you fit the description of a, a black man with a low haircut and a yellow and black t-shirt?" Tomorrow I'm wearing a blue and red t-shirt. "Oh, you fit the description of a black man with a low haircut and a blue and red t-shirt." I'm always fitting that description. Well, you know what that means. Anybody who's in the hood knows what that means. Or anybody who looks like me knows what that means. Knows what that means. You know what I'm saying? So, miss me with that, and miss me with the good cop stuff or what have you. You know, this is something that has been embedded in the country since its inception. Black is bad, white is good. We're the villains. But you know what? If you look at history, history says otherwise. History says otherwise. It hasn't been us sitting there ravaging through different lands, taking them over, committing genocide, committing the most horrific acts during chattel slavery. You know, they used to sit there and feed our babies, little beings that never even got a chance to live, feed our babies to alligators. They used to have games called Hit the Nigger. Okay? Hit the nigger. The police came out of slave patrols. I just learned recently, you know what? I had so much contempt for the police and so much fear for the police. I never even really paid attention to their little symbol on their sleeve, on their jackets and their shirts and stuff like that. I just recently learned that in the symbol, right there in the symbol, is a man with a whip. On the side of him is a Native American with a bow. I'm going to say Native American because people love to say Indian. They're not Indians. They only was called Indians because when Columbus so-called discovered America, he thought he was discovering India. But we all know that, right? We all know that, right? So, and then that gets to another thing. When, I did a video on that too. It goes with the ridiculousness of white privilege, where people was actually getting mad about changing the name of Aunt Jemima and changing the name of Uncle Ben and tearing down the statues or what have you. But yet everybody knows Columbus never discovered America, but we still celebrate that holiday, right? We still have his statues up, and he was murderous and he was treacherous. He was a raper. He was despicable, and he had a diary depicting all the atrocities that he committed, him and his crew. He had a diary. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we know most of this history anyway, because it came from white men's hubris. They were so proud to sit there and be so despicable that they documented it. They documented it. You know what I mean? So, that's why we get to talk about it now. And, and a lot of people sit there and think that you get rid of racism by not talking about it. Like, how does that even work? How does that even work? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like saying you get rid of lung cancer by not thinking of the fact that you have lung cancer. You know what I'm saying? You get rid of a brain tumor by sitting there just ignoring the brain tumor. right? It just goes away. It just disappears. Poof, gone. Yeah, yeah. No more racism because we're not talking about it. The logic that comes from people is just really incredible. You know what I'm saying? And it leads to the illogic leads to a lot of egregious comments from a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? I've seen people say, well, only 0.09% of the killings of blacks are at the hands of cops. So why does BLM focus so much on cop killings or what have you? And like I said to him, even if that number is right, any life of an unarmed person taken is one too many. You know what I'm saying? Then also you got to sit there and look at even a small percentage of a few thousand is still a lot. A small percentage of millions is still a lot. You know what I'm saying? You're looking at just that small number, but that small number out of a big number still ends up being a big number. You know what I'm saying? Still ends up being a big number. And this is something you have to really think about or what have you. You know, I could sit there and talk stats all day. I could look up the stats or what have you. And I could be a little more accurate. But a lot of times I like to do this really off the top of my head. Like even when I go represent my job, a lot of times I sit there and go off the top of my head because I feel like I could be more sincere when I'm coming off the top of my head and not reading from something and sounding like a robot. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, as I progress with this and maybe build up more audience, then I'll have a more structured show and I could probably, spew out the more statistical stuff. But at the same time, I really don't like statistics in itself either, unless I'm doing the research myself, you know. And the reason for that is, a lot of people will sit there and will say that numbers don't lie, and that's true. Math is math. It's either right or it's wrong. But the people that sit there and report the numbers can lie. Numbers can be manipulated. You have to think about that. You know what I'm saying? So when you're sitting there talking about stats, especially stats that's speaking on Black and Latinos, who's writing those stats? You think they're gonna sit there and really write them in our favor? It's not happening. It's not happening. But people love to run with those freaking stats, and then I love when people sit there and respond to me with memes that's supposed to have stats in it. You know what I'm saying? And in those memes, it's like, oh, well, this is the stat here. Where's the media outrage or what have you? Like, don't respond to me with memes. Memes don't say nothing. Anybody can make those memes and anybody can make those numbers. Anybody can make a graph. All I gotta sit there and do is type in numbers into Excel and make a graph out of that. Anybody who's done research, anybody who's had any college level, especially a master level, you know what I'm saying, knows that. You know what I'm saying? Even not even a master level. You don't even have to be on a master's level. You can sit there and put in numbers, and it doesn't matter what the numbers are. As long as the formula is right, I could put in numbers and then make a graph out of that. And then I can make a meme out of that. You know what I'm saying? Anybody could put anything. It's just like with Google. People love to sit there and talk about Google or whatever. It takes more than just Googling it, because Google is just a search engine. It's not the end all be all. It's just a search engine. That means anything that is posted on the web on that subject is going to come into that Google page when you search it, when you put in those keywords or what have you. That's all it is. It doesn't mean that the information is warranted. Just because you put in a thing, you see something pop up, the first thing pop up, you say, "Oh yeah, see, there you go, there you go. That proves my point." Whatever. No, it doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove anything. You know what I'm saying? You need to sit there and get that out of your mind. People need to educate themselves a little more. But that's a problem. People don't educate themselves. They run with talking points. And that's one thing I definitely noticed over the years when it comes to conservatives. They take one single talking point and they run with it, and everybody runs with it. It's like a hot potato. They passing it along, passing it along. You know what I'm saying? Because they all spit out the same thing. It never fails. Never fails. When you sit there and see anything on race, anything on politics, when conservatives come to comment, they always spewing the same thing. Same thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's why they never really have a rebuttal, because when you come at them with some facts or what have you, they wind up shutting up. They don't have a rebuttal. They don't have a rebuttal because, it was supposed to be a one of those things where I sit there and say this to you, you shut up, and it's supposed to be a aha, I got you moment. And then when it's not a aha, I got you moment, then it's like, well, well, you know what? I ain't gotta sit there and prove nothing to you. I ain't gonna talk to you. You know what? I'm gonna ignore you. I'm gonna ignore you. I ain't gonna respond to you. And if they do continue to respond in some childish rhetoric, you know what I'm saying, that sounds similar to, well, I know you are, but what am I? And that's why your mama's fat. Your mama's so dark that when you turn out the lights, all you see is her freaking teeth as she smiles. Some childish rhetoric. So getting back to my main point, America has always been built to go against us. But I think now is the time to really push. You know what I'm saying? Push. Don't go back to the norm. Don't go back to the normal posting and whatever. Keep the energy going and keep the fire under these politicians. And let's get a lot of these people out. Some of these people, they lost their race. And like I said earlier, I was going for Charles Booker. I'm sorry he wasn't able to beat Amy McGrath or what have you. And, for some Democrats, that might still be good if Amy McGrath could sit there and beat Turkey Neck Mitchie. But one thing's for sure, Turkey Neck Mitchie needs to get out. And yes, Agent Orange needs to get out, but it shouldn't be a matter of just voting for whoever is Democratic just to get him out. Okay? It shouldn't be a matter, and we need to get away from this two-party system, because believe it or not, there are other parties, and if we pushed enough, we could get those other parties to the forefront. But we don't, because we stick to this two-party system, and it needs to be eradicated. It hasn't been doing nothing on neither end, especially for black and brown. And for poor white folk too. But poor white folk, they're so uneducated and they're so embedded into their white supremacist ideology. They vote against themselves all the freaking time just for the sake of keeping their whiteness. Because Republicans don't care about them either. You know what I'm saying? But for the bull blacks to sit there and say, "Oh, you keeping black people on a plantation." Why? Because you're a little tired, so-called fact. Well, I mean, I guess it is a fact, actually. You know what I'm saying? Your little talking point of the fact that the Democrats wanted to uphold slavery. Yeah, that's true. That is true. But what you don't talk about is those same Democrats or the Republicans now. That's what you don't talk about. You don't talk about that. And then when somebody does bring that up, you sit there and say, "Oh yeah, yeah, the party switched um argument. Yeah, that's flawed." Well, tell me how it's flawed. Crickets. I'm waiting. I'm to this day. I'm still waiting on answers. You know, because I go back and forth sometimes, especially on Twitter. I don't know what it is about Twitter, but I'm always arguing politics on Twitter. I'm always arguing politics on Twitter. You know, and if you watch this and you have a Twitter, you know, you follow me. But I'm always arguing this on Twitter. You know, um, and I haven't got an answer yet. Not yet. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it goes back to them, you know, it goes back to me saying they love that same old tired line. They love running with same old tired lines all the time. You know what I'm saying? And they have the black bulls that want to sit there and say, "Oh, you've been voting wrong the whole entire time. You need to vote Republican." Well, why should I vote Republican? Uh, 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 well, they freed the slaves. You got anything else? Well, you know, the Democrats. What have they done for you? You got anything else? Uh, 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 you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, let's go to the coons. A lot of people don't like that word, and it's not because they're trying to protect us. It's because it goes against the ones they like to put in front to try to, you know, get the black people in line. You know what I'm saying? So we going against their little, you know, white supremacists in a blackface. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they'll sit there and suspend your account when they see you writing coon or a bed wench or what have you. Not because they protecting us. They don't care about that. Because white people sit there and will sit there and say nigga, and they won't sit there and suspend their account. And I don't care for neither one. But I'm not talking about the NIGGA. I'm talking about the NIGGER. You know what I'm saying? And they don't suspend their account. So it ain't about protecting us or what have you. But let's talk about the cool stuff. All right. So now you have Terry Crews, who just does not know how to shut up. You know what I'm saying? He does not know how to shut up, even though every time he opens his mouth, Twitter rips him a new, you know what I'm saying? They rip him a new one, you know? So lately he votes. He tweets saying something to the effect of, we all know Black Lives Matter, but let's not get it to the point, and I'm paraphrasing, but let's not get it to the point of making it Black Lives Better. Fool, if you don't get the hell out of here with that crap, nobody sat there, nobody not once sat there and said Black lives are better. Not once. You're sitting there pandering to something that's not even freaking there because you said, why? Because you have a white wife, you have a whole bunch of white friends, and you want to keep that check coming because your career ain't all that good anyway. So you want to make sure you keep on that good side. You wanna have your agent book you those deals, what have you. You know what I mean? And you don't want to piss off your little white wife. You know what I'm saying? But you need to shut up. Shut up, because you're not doing us any good. You know what I'm saying? You're not doing us any good. Nobody said nothing about Black Lives Are Better. Nothing. Nothing. But you continue to sit there and I don't know. Y'all seem to think that this is still back in the day. People are catching on, and that coon shit is not really working anymore. Y'all hang yourselves. You know what I'm saying? Jason Whitlock, he lost his job. Steve Harvey lost his freaking show. What have you? You know what I'm saying? Y'all still want to continue with that? You know what I'm saying? Not to mention, especially on Twitter, they be getting at you. They be getting at you because people are not going for that stuff no more. You know what I'm saying? People are not going for that stuff no more. The only ones that's gonna sit there and praise you is the little white ones that's sitting there. They racist, and you take the emphasis off of them because the minute somebody sits there and says they're racist, they can easily point at you. Look, see, he said it. He's one of you. She said it. She's one of you. You know what I'm saying? So they get the Terry Crews, they get the Candace Owens, they get the Morgan Freemans, they get the Anthony Mackies. You know what I'm saying? They get the Little Waynes, the Stephen A. Smiths, the Charles Barkleys. They get all of them because those people don't want their checks to stop. They don't want their checks to stop because so they're not trying to piss off. They're not trying to piss off Massa. They're not trying to piss off Massa. So they're gonna sit there and say, no problem. No problem. I'm sick of them too, boss. I'm sick of them too, boss. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I totally get you, boss. I got your back. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna speak to them. I'm gonna speak to them. I'm gonna keep them in line. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no revolution gonna be around here. Not on my watch, boss. No. You know, we's eating. We got to keep eating. We's got to keep eating. You know, it's really funny. But you know, it kills me when people sit there and think that the world is any different because they're making money. And that's why I will always respect Cap, because he put his career on the line to sit there and fight for a bunch of people he does not even freaking know. Never will meet. He put his career on the freaking line. And for that, I'll always respect him. And I will not watch NFL. I don't care if they sit there and pick a team picks him up now. It's bigger than Cap, but I respect him. It's bigger than Cap. It's not. It never was really all about Cap, but I respect him because he had enough balls to put his career on the line, which is more than I could say for a lot of people. Because, like I said, for that check, they'll sit there and say racism. I don't know nothing about no racism. Nah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I've been blessed to live a blessed life. I'm making millions of dollars. I got a lot of white friends and they treat me good. Racism? Nah. This is a newsflash. Just because something is not going on with you doesn't mean it's not going on at all. You know what I'm saying? On top of that, I'm guaranteed before you was even a star, you encountered it. While you was a star, you encountered it. And you just don't want to sit there and say nothing about it. And if you wasn't a star, you definitely would be encountering it. So stop it. Stop it. And like I said in my video one time before, let's say for argument's sake that they don't even recognize that you're a star. They don't even recognize you're a star or whatever. And you come across a little racist cop. He don't care. He's looking at your color or whatever the case may be. Now, he's going to still do what he got to do unless he happens to recognize that you are a star. And he can get a lot of backlash for doing it. But other than that, you're just another black face to them. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of stars need to keep that in mind. You know what I'm saying? A lot of stars need to keep that in mind. A lot of stars need to start using their voice, whatever. But you know what? We can't depend on them to speak out for us. But at the same time, I feel like this. You got a platform. You can reach millions of people. You know, I'm only reaching a few by doing this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I hope to reach more, you know, as time goes by, but I'm only reaching a few by doing this stuff. You can reach millions in an instant. When you're a star, when you go live, you know what I'm saying? I see one person on here right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who that one person is, but you know, I see one person on here. But when you're a star, you go live, those numbers go up like that, like that. You know what I'm saying? What I'm trying to say is you have a platform where you could reach to a lot of people that will listen. You know what I'm saying? Why not use it? If you feel there's injustice going on and you feel that things are going wrong for people that look like you and me, what's wrong with standing up to it? Because you're worried about that dollar. You're worried about losing that 20 room mansion that you don't even sleep in half the time. You worried about losing those freaking 30 cars that you don't drive. You know? You know, when do you make enough money to have some balls? Okay? When do you make enough money to have some balls? And then on that note, I think I'm gonna end this off or what have you. But you know, before I end this off, I want to stand and show my shirt and like, yo, this is from Jet Black Clothing. It says Black Wall Street, and you can't see the whole thing, but it says Black Wall Street, bring it back. And then on, you know, let me show you the back. You know what I'm saying? You know, because you know dates are important. So it's 1921. You know, for those who don't know, May 31st. May 30th to June 1st, I believe. Don't quote me on this, but 1921, there was a massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was Black Wall Street, or what have you, and that's what this shirt is commemorating. It's Jet Black. Their site is jetblackfly.com, jetblackfly.com, or what have you. I also got a jacket. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I love this jacket. You know what I'm saying? Let me show this little jacket or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like on the back, F the pigs. Yes, F the pigs. F the pigs. All right. Then you have rebels. You know, rebel members only. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to be a rebel to wear something like this. You know, you have the balls to wear something like this. And then no justice, no peace. You know, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Or whatever. Both Jet Black Clothing. Like I said, jetblackfly.com. Every time I do this video, I'm going to try to wear some Black-owned clothing, and I'm going to shout them out or what have you. You know, it's my thing or what have you. They're not sponsoring me. I just feel we need to support Black-owned companies, so I'm going to do that. Also, let me say before I leave, if you like this, share it, subscribe, hit my links on my profile. I got my links to my Facebook, my Twitter, my podcast. You know, I gotta sit there and step up on the podcast, but I do have an episode on there already. So I have all those links. If you like what you see, subscribe, share, hit those links on my other social media accounts, because sometimes I might just randomly go live on Instagram or Facebook, and it might not even be on topics I do on here or whatever, because I'm doing various things, and you know, whatever I I feel fit to speak on, I'm going to speak on it on here. I'm going to do a live on Instagram or Facebook. I'm going to do that a lot less though now. And I'm going to do it on a podcast. And basically all I'm going to be talking about is either politics, race, social issues. It's going to be a variety of things. I'm not just focusing on just race or just focusing on politics or just so it's going to be a variety of things because a lot of things go on in life, and I feel a lot of things need to be talked about. And this is actually the longest one I did, so I guess I had some things to say. So anyway, I hope whoever watches this enjoys this. I hope y'all have a good night, good weekend. Oh, 4th of July is coming up. I'm going to sit there and say, fuck 4th of July. We shouldn't be celebrating it. We weren't free July 4th, 1776. If you still want to celebrate it and that's your excuse to, chill with your family or whatever, that's your thing or whatever, I'm not doing it. I feel we need to just eradicate it. Leave it to them. That was their little independence thing or whatever the case may be. It wasn't independence for us. You know what I'm saying? And we're still not free. I advocated for a Juneteenth, and that's even still symbolic. But I'm not gonna knock people for celebrating Juneteenth. I got on people for that, and of course, they still do what they do, and that's rightfully so. But I got on people for that because some people are just learning about Juneteenth, and in the midst of them just learning about Juneteenth, you still have some of us sitting there saying, "Well, we shouldn't celebrate that either because we was never free." Okay, that's true, but I mean, come on, you're gonna take everything away from us? I mean, the one thing that's probably solid, and like I said in another video, if that gets them away from self, then I'm all for it. But you can't bring something to the forefront of somebody, and they just learning about it, and then in the midst of that, they see on their news feed from you, oh well, it's still only symbolic anyway. I mean, it makes people feel you can't win for losing. I think we really need to focus on this unity stuff and stop with the condemning stuff. We need to sit there and find a way to come up with like-minded solutions, and then we can worry about all this other stuff later, because a lot of the stuff comes from years upon years of indoctrination. You can't get rid of that overnight. And stop acting like you knew all this your whole entire life. You've lived this Black Lives Matter, Black Panther, freaking SNCC revolutionary life your whole entire life. Your parents sat there and taught you that your whole entire life. Don't act like that. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us didn't even learn a lot of the stuff we know until we got to college. All right? You know what I'm saying? So I try to keep that in mind. Because I've sat there and been condescending at times, and I look at other people's posts and I'm like, do I sound like that? Or did I sound like that? You know what? I don't want to sound like that. So I eased it up. And I made the decision of trying to teach more than condemn. And that's the whole purpose of doing these lives. So, I appreciate anybody who watches, anybody who shares, anybody who subscribes. I appreciate all y'all or what have you. And on that note, I'll just end it, and good night.